apolitical the whole time. We didn't talk about politics,
Mhm.
because our job was the mission. You know, didn't care what the person next to me thought politically. It's just not something we talked about. But after I left the military and came back from overseas, 20 years, spending 20 years overseas, I saw how things had changed completely from what I remember. I saw the vitriol coming out of Washington, coming from my representative. When I moved back to Georgia, and I was like, what's going on? Then I saw that summer of protests with George Floyd and all of those things going on, and I was like, you know, all of this is dangerous and it's leading to somewhere bad.
Mhm.
Especially with my representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was saying a lot of just crazy off the wall stuff. And I said, this is going to get bad, and it did. It all culminated in
Yep.
January 6th. That was the day that got me into it. And the next day, I resigned my post as a government official and ran for Congress against Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Mhm.
But I want to ask you, and I know that healthcare seems to be one of your big topics.
Mhm.
But what shaped who you are from your career in the military and as a nurse practitioner? What shaped you as a leader coming into, I want to run for Congress. I want to go lead in a different way, serve in a different way. Go back and reach into that thought and tell me,
Yeah.
what really brought you to that decision to think, okay, I want to run because this is happening, but why you? Why now?
Mhm. Well, I would say, especially being in the medical field, we are constantly trying to do process improvement. And with that, we have to change policies all the time because our resources may change and we may need to have new equipment we're working
I love where
with.
you're going with this. I know, I love where you're going with this answer.
Well, and because of that, you are working as a team to figure out, with limited resources, how are we going to get the best impact so that we have the greatest patient outcomes?
Mm-hmm.
And you get very familiar as a young officer how quickly you can get things done when you do your research, you work together, and you ultimately are bringing data that shows what you are doing is going to be better for your patients, your community, the hospital. And that perspective really made me feel like I was able to have a voice and actually bring a big impact.
Mhm.
And I did. I was a very young officer. I got new policies pushed through the hospital. I was promoted very early and was able to work in a health administration position that's normally lieutenant colonel position. So it was very exciting because I was able to have the autonomy to actually make change.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, you work with so many different sectors. So, I'm working with attorneys, I'm working with squadron commanders, group commanders, which is essentially the CEO, other top administration officials
Pulling
of the
people in
hospital,
across
and then the Air Base
disciplines.
Wing Commander.
Yeah.
Yeah, which you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So,
I'll tell I
you're
did
working
everything. I'd have to get the answers from the subject matter experts in order to
exactly,
do my job. So,
exactly. And
yeah.
isn't that a great point? Like, we will go to the subject matter experts, especially as health professionals. I am going to go to the specialist before I just talk to the family doctor about someone's cancer. And we're making new policy based on evidence-based decisions and bringing a great product to our, for me, it was military members and for our veterans
Right.
that were getting care at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And, when I went into the reserves, I separated from active duty, went to the reserves, and then, I'm serving as an officer in the reserves while also dipping into the civilian sector. And you get so familiar with how the reserve is different.
Mm-hmm.
You may not have all the same things that you were able to have active duty,
Right.
but also you get familiar with this dynamic of the civilian life is different than the military life. And
Mm-hmm.
you see people don't have access to insurance, health insurance. You see people don't have access to good housing. They may not have access to good education. And that is all policy flaw.
Yeah.
And from my local community to when I worked at the Ohio State University, I saw a systemic flawed system of how people are working their asses off. And yet they
Mhm.
still can't make ends meet. They can't afford health insurance. People are working 2 to 3 jobs, yet it's still not enough. And so to answer your question, I feel like especially health professionals and officers in the military, you are doing so many things comprehensively to get shit done that
Exactly.
it completely flexes to absolutely I can run for Congress. I've been doing this my entire life. And
Yeah.
we need a whole lot of process improvement in Congress. We need a lot of people to take initiative and say, I can do this and it needs to be different and it needs to be better. And I have not seen that leadership in Washington right now. And the current person in our District 10, it's a career politician, completely out of touch with the struggles people are having on a day-to-day basis. And so, I feel like every single person, especially young person, needs to ask themselves, why not me? Why
Mhm.
can't I be the decision maker of the struggles I have? And so being able to hold that autonomy and say, my voice matters and my perspective matters and my experience matters, that's exactly how we're going to change people's lives and make new policy that's impactful across every state and the entire country.
And I love that answer because in the military and in the government, in our different agencies, we knew what the mission was. We knew we had to work with other people to get it done. Why doesn't it work that way at the highest levels of our government? Maybe our government's not the most efficient thing, but as you and I, as career professionals, we learn how to mitigate that minutia and all of the gauntlet that you have to run through to get things done. We had to figure it out because we didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
Mission
right.
first. The mission should always be the people and doing things for. So I love that. That's what you'll be bringing to Congress if you're elected. So.
And this is a little bit off topic, but I know you were talking about your daughter earlier, and I think that it's a really great example to set for a little girl, especially because one of the things that like I'll be 35 next week, but one of the things that I'm finally in like a mentorship age where I'm old enough to talk to people who are in their 20s and be like, hey, here are things that I learned that I wish I knew when I was your age. One of those things is that you can trust your judgment, like my own judgment. Like I have good judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And if I think that there's a problem here, then maybe there actually is. Because a lot of times people are just questioning themselves constantly. Like, is this really an issue? Because the people who are in charge probably know this better than I know. They don't.
Yeah.
They do not. And and actually, if you're identifying something and you take the time to go do the research and to figure it out, and you have that process mindset where you're that problem solver, why not you? And it's something that I love that this generation is teaching their little girls. Like hopefully this generation of little girls will grow up and never know it any different. Like they'll never see that it was ever any different. But the thing that I definitely want little girls, little boys, everybody, 35, 50, 75-year-olds to know is that, like when they're in a position like yours, where you see that something's wrong, rather than saying, well, I guess I don't understand. It's, I can trust my own judgment. So speaking a little bit more in that personal realm, tell us where you're from. Are you from the district where you're in? Tell us about your family. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. So I grew up in Southern California. I was there for 24 years before I became active duty Air Force and was stationed at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where I've now grown to be my home. I unusually spent 6 years active duty here at Wright-Pat and then 4 years as a reservist. So I was able to serve 10 years all in one place, which I would say for me is a blessing because I was able to start my family as I was separating active duty while also finishing a graduate program. Don't recommend doing a graduate program while you're going or still finishing active duty. And being pregnant. Not great decision making.
You can handle tough things. So
yeah, but at the same time, it was really an opportunity for me to switch into the civilian sector while also still wearing the uniform and being a new mom. And so it's an exciting time because when you're separating from active duty, for me at least, I felt like I got to choose where I was living. And for me, that was Ohio, and staying in Yellow Springs is where I live, which is like the nature mecca as far as I'm concerned in Ohio. And I'm a very outdoors person. And so, we are close to Glen Helen Nature Reserve and we're close to John Bryant State Park. And that's now where we're raising our 2 kids. And I want them to be able to grow up in a community that is thriving. And now that I'm running for Congress, I'm able to identify what I want to see differently so that when my kids are growing up, they have access to certain things that some people don't have right now.
Yeah.
And like that is such a testament to not only hard work, but also, you know, being able to ask questions. And if you're not getting an answer you like, go change it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm really excited to be a official, I would say, Ohioan. I have spent a good chunk of my life here now in Ohio, and I do miss California. My family still lives there in Southern California. So I would say the number one thing I miss is mountains. I love climbing mountains. I love hiking, which we can still do here in Ohio. But I'm a big, like, let's go climb a 14er, and they don't have them here in Ohio. So that means I just have to go to Colorado or back to California.
You're not in a bad place. You picked a pretty good place to settle down. I mean, and I'm an Army guy, but I've spent a lot of time in that area, in that Wright Pat Kettering, Ohio area, where a lot of my classes, at least once every couple of years, I was there for classes with DAU. We'd spend time at Wright Pat. We'd have a lot of things there. So, I'm at Defense Acquisition University. For people who don't know what DAU is, I was a part of acquisitions and logistics in the military and outside of the military for DOD. So lovely area, Kettering, Miami, Wright Pat, Dayton. That's not a bad place to settle down, I would say. So
no.
How did you end up in the service?
So I was in nursing school. I was working 3 or 4 jobs to pay for school. And one of my good friends in nursing school was in Air Force ROTC. She goes, you can get a scholarship. Just come join the Air Force. And I was like, oh, it's not for me. I don't think I'll fit in. And I tried it. I loved it. I did not get a scholarship. It was during budget cuts. So the only people that got scholarships that year were pilots, and I was not a pilot. So that was devastating, but it was also an opportunity for me to choose the Air Force just to serve. And I love that that's a part of my story now, because it wasn't just for money. It was because I saw something that was purposeful and that I felt like was challenging me and making me a better person. And so that's how I got into Air Force ROTC.
Yeah. So speaking of inspiration, who do you feel like your biggest inspirations and influences are in your career?
That is a great question. And I can't pinpoint one person. I would say there's been so many different leaders in my life that have taught me a lesson. And all those lessons coming together have really shaped who I am. And, I still go back to a lot of leaders. Some of my ROTC leaders that I looked up to at the time, I still message them for advice. And that's such a great relationship to keep for me. I've had good and bad leaders over my career. And I've taken lessons from both of them, because bad leaders can teach you a lot too. And I would say now, being in the political realm, there are definitely certain people that I admire. I would say Senator Mark Kelly has done a really great job. He's also a veteran, and his wife, Gabby Giffords, is certainly an inspiration. And so I would say 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said I admire politicians. But now that that's kind of the area that I'm in, it's a different perspective, because I get to look at leaders and say, wow, they've really chosen service over self. They've really chosen this because they want to be a public servant. And that's the leadership I aspire to be. So as I've gone through different jobs, that's what I look for. I was like, oh, you know what? And like, I hope people take that as a compliment. When I tell them they're a servant leader, that is like the best compliment I can give, because you are literally serving your community, not for anything for yourself, but just to be there to offer yourself to help with people's needs. And so that's what I hope I get to be for this community, because the person currently in office doesn't care. He doesn't even host town halls. So how can I be a person that is receptive and willing to be present? And I think that's what takes a good leader.
Kristina, that's one of the things I talk about all the time too. You've got to have that servant leadership in your heart. That's what I tell candidates when they come to me and they ask questions. A, be your authentic self. Don't try to be something you're not. I mean, I've been in this for 5 years and I still bristle just a little bit when people call me a politician because, I look at myself as a public servant. It's what I've done my entire career. It's about service for me. If you don't have that in your heart, this ain't for you.
Yep.
But let's kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about, campaign. And we've talked about motivation a little bit. But your district, Ohio 10th, kind of like what's been going on here in Georgia. There's been a bunch of redistricting in the last few years. Trump won that district by a bunch. But with redistricting, it's now an R+3 or 4 district.
So it's an R+3 according to Cook Political. Okay. And so it is definitely flipping in November. It's a great opportunity for us to take back the House. And I believe this is the year we're going to win it. We have seen people go against my opponent and not win. And I think we have the political climate now that he doesn't have a chance. People just want someone that they can trust. And frankly, we cannot trust a 30-year politician.
I mean, let me tell you, folks, this is one of those years where we've got some momentum. We've seen a lot of big wins in the last several months over primary seasons. A lot of people that, we didn't expect to get booted out, got booted out. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But, an R+3 district where I think we're in an environment now where we could probably swing an R+10 to maybe 12.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is, I don't know if it's going to be like one of those shellackings, like where we picked up 40 seats way back when Obama was around. But,
and I will see one of the most important things about this year is focusing on anti-corruption.
Yeah.
How do we build a political system that generations after us can trust it? Right now, my generation doesn't trust the political system because they feel like their voice doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So how do we show them it does? And how do we actually make a difference? And the only way we do that is by electing new leaders that aren't a part of the status quo. And my opponent, he's taken millions of dollars in corporate PAC money. So he is privy to his donors. He gets to serve his donors, not his community. And so I'm not taking any corporate PAC money. I think it's really essential that you do not have someone buying your position. And how else do you get rid of that if you're a 30-year politician? And
that's the same way. That's the same way. You don't take the corporate PAC money because you're beholden to the people, not to the corporate donors.
And I think you really addressed something that Kamala identified as a major problem, right? Because she said, I really thought that the infrastructure that existed would prevent something like this from happening. Like when she, I think she was on Colbert when she said that, she was like, I really thought that the system would have worked and it didn't. Yeah. And so I think what you just said coincides with that really well, which is I want to build a system. I want to build something that's going to work for the future, because obviously the one that we have now isn't working. And just like side note really fast. So I'm a jury consultant also. I pick juries for a living. And I have one rule, okay? And the rule is, unless you want somebody who's going to go over your case bit by bit and get everything exactly right, no nurses. Because nurses, whatever the nurse has seen is worse than whatever shit it happened to you, okay? And she's not gonna, they're gonna see through it. It's like teachers. They're like teachers, like dealing with kids all day. They're not, if you're gonna get up there and try and sell them bullshit, they're gonna see right through it. Right. But if you want somebody who's going to advocate for you because you did the right thing, pick the nurse. Put the nurse on the jury.
That is true. Nurses will see through lies like an old screen door.
That is right. That is my one rule is about nurses, because I think that they're the profession that, to me, can handle anything, that you're not going to slide anything past them. And so that's why I put a lot of stock and a lot of trust into them. And I hope that people, and I say that so that people will respect nurses more. I say that because I'm trying to say they're the most compassionate people. at the same time, they're going to hold you to a high standard, right? That's how I perceive nurses to be in general. I don't know if that's your experience, but it certainly is what I've seen.
Yeah. And I would also say they're some of the best problem solvers. Like,
period. Under pressure, right? Like when the chips are down and everything is a mess and the people who are at the top are fucking it up, like, you guys are the ones.
Yep.
We need that. I think we need more veterans. We need more nurses. We need more people who are out there in it every day. Out running for Congress. I say this all the time.
Yeah.
Kristina, really quick, tell us what makes your campaign different from, well, you've already made it through a primary, so the people, they saw what was different with your campaign from your primary opponents, but what makes your campaign different from your Republican opponent? Is he being nasty?
Well, it's a big difference.
Yeah,
I would say he's not a big campaigner. He doesn't go out in public. And I'm a very public person. As a nurse, I love establishing relationships with people. I love knowing who is a leader that's getting shit done. And how do I get them the resources they need so they can get more stuff done? And all the people that I meet, all these great leaders in the community, they don't even know who Mike Turner is.
How you get to a certain point in Congress, you're not out talking to people anymore. We've seen this story told 100 times. You know, they don't come out and talk to the people. They're above it. I feel like they can just check the box and get reelected.
Yeah, one of the recent quarters for fundraising, all his money was corporate PAC money. There wasn't a single donor in this district that funded his campaign.
I've seen it 100 times, and it's what happens. Unfortunately, the guys, they don't get out and talk. They don't do town halls like they're supposed to. I mean, you're supposed to be back in the district every month, talking with the voters, holding town halls, seeing, what's going on with your district, because how else are you going to know what you're focused on? How else are you going to know where the bacon needs to come back to, where those taxpayer dollars need to come back and fund in the district? How else do you know what to fight for if you're not out talking to the people?
Yeah. And I feel like this relates back to our military experience too. We go to the subject matter expert, me, to make sure we're making the right decision. I'm not going to know everything, and I'm not going to pretend to know everything. So I'm going to find out who does.
You want to get it right. God
so
forbid.
So I think it's so important to really build those relationships with your community, so you can be like, hey, I know you solved this problem. How can I make sure you get more money so that you can fix more problems? And those are good, trusting relationships to have, and Turner doesn't have any of them.
So what are some of the main things that you've been hearing on the campaign trail, not just about your opponent, but like about the issues, and especially what are the things that have surprised you that you've heard on the campaign trail?
Yeah. So one thing that resonates the most is they just want basic needs met. I want to put food on my table that I can afford. I want to be able to cover my rent with one job. I want to make sure I can send my kids to school and they come home at the end of the day.
Yep.
And it's just one thing after the next, and we're seeing crisis after crisis. And so when people are living in crisis, it's really hard for them to be involved anywhere else. They're just trying to survive. And we're seeing that, especially as a nurse practitioner in the healthcare system. Our healthcare system is so broken. And especially after COVID, it exposed a lot of the holes in our system where we cannot possibly take care of so many people. And unfortunately, because of the recent cuts to Medicaid and Medicare, we are losing a lot of our infrastructure to take care of people. And so that's going to make matters a lot worse in our community and across the country. And so, with these politicians and my community, people feel like they're not being heard. Nobody cares about them. And I would say one of the most surprising things is veterans I talk to, people that served 20 plus years in the military, they're still working full time.
You're in a heavy veteran community with Wright Pat and DAU and all of that there. So, just like here in Georgia, we have a lot of veterans too. And so now that's like a double whammy with healthcare, veterans, retiring and still having to work full-time job. Right. A lot of them are on disability as well.
Yes.
So,
and sorry, go ahead.
No. So you have a rural part of that district. I'm sure a lot of veterans live in that. So what are you hearing from them?
Well, that they're struggling. Thankfully, some of them have healthcare protected, but even with that, our VA struggles to have the mental health care resources they need. We struggle to have funding for other programs outside of just going to the hospital. And I think that's where we really need to rebuild community resources, especially for our veteran community, because they want to belong somewhere. And we don't have any place of belonging because everybody is so divided right now. And especially with our political system, unfortunately, somehow the military has been built in a partisan way. And that's been honestly one of the most surprising things I never expected to happen. And one thing that it's been very angering, because even, especially now being a veteran, I'm getting VA emails and I see partisan language in a VA email. I was like, ooh, I think they're breaking some law. They're not supposed to do this.
Well, that's what happens when you make a sycophant Secretary of State. I mean, Secretary of Defense.
Yep.
Secretary of State too.
I heard that.
Not much better, but slightly better.
Yes. But at the end of the day, we need to serve our veterans. We need to serve our community. And so how are we going to get them the resources they need? And the fact that I'm seeing so many people not have the resources they need, it's like, oh my goodness, do we need somebody else representing our community?
Yeah. Sounds like you're getting nothing right now from your representative. So.
Yeah.
Right. He says nothing. It's no comment all the time. Empty chair or no comment.
That's it. We need better. Your district deserves better.
Mm-hmm.
Maddie, you got anything else?
Yeah. Let's see here. So we recognize that you've got like a substantial amount of voters who are not on the Democrat side. How have you gone about dealing with that, and do you plan to approach working with those folks in the future?
Yeah, great question. I think this is a particular election year that we really need to build a campaign that's serving the people over the party. And I think I fit that really well. I'm married to a Republican, recently turned Democrat because he voted for me. And, and I was raised, but I was also raised in a Republican family, and my in-laws are Republican. So I am this little Democrat in this very Republican world. And, I still have friends that are Republican. I grew up with friends that we didn't really talk about our political nature, and that has been so much different over the last few years.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to focus on the issues that face all of us, and especially being a veteran nurse practitioner, I have that camaraderie of like, I'm going to take care of my people. Like every veteran, I'm on your side and I'm going to advocate for you no matter what your political party is. Same thing with healthcare professionals. Like, we work so hard to take care of people, and we sacrifice ourselves. We sacrifice our time. We sacrifice our breaks. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that are actually serving. And so, with that, we need to focus on continuing to show up and make sure we're serving the community where it's needed. And I hope no matter the party people belong to, they know I'm going to show up. Like, if I see a need, I want to feel the need, and I want to fill the need, and I want to fix it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what party you're from. We really need to focus on, like, historically, if you look at polls, the polling, depending on how the question is phrased, we want the same outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I talk about as well. Meeting people where they are.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, if you're going to be in a position of leadership, they're going to be people who disagree with your politics per se. But who disagrees on affordability? Who disagrees on, those kitchen table issues where it comes down to putting food on the table, putting clothes on your kids' back, getting your kids through school, making sure that they can afford a home when they're, up and out. We agree on those things.
Yeah.
There's so few issues that we disagree on as a society. And I think we focus so much on that, or the politics. We use them as political footballs to divide people. And that's why we are where we are now. But it takes certain types of leaders to come out and just, again, meet people where they are, have those tough conversations. They're not always going to be easy conversations to have with people who disagree with the fact that you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, but you got to have those conversations. That's what leadership's all about. You need leaders who are willing to reach across the aisle to get things done, to get the right things, or step in their spine and stand up for what's right, no matter what the political consequences.
Right. So, and in addition to that, we need to establish relationships across the aisle. That used to happen 10, 20 years ago. And now people are siloed because they're afraid of what's going to happen. Like, is there a career at stake? And I am so sad to hear that we're at a place in Congress where people are afraid to stand up for what's right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a huge alert of we've done something wrong and we need to fix it fast.
Yeah, and when they do in a certain party, they get primaried and, then they start really speaking their mind, their true mind, because now I have nothing to lose. So now I'm going to say what it is that I really wanted to say the entire time. But, we get taught in the military that personal courage, selfless service, those are part of our core values.
Yeah.
We're going to stand up and speak truth to power every time,
Exactly.
Be damned, or getting reelected, be damned. This is the truth. And it's the truth. And I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
Those are the leaders that we need. And I think you're that
exactly.
leader.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, our core values in the Air Force is integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And can we take that to Congress, please? Like, it would be so nice if everybody actually upheld those values and stood up for what's right. Like, simply put, can we just stand up for right versus wrong? And right now in our political system, it needs so much change.
I was going to ask you if there's one thing that you want people to remember about you, what would that be? Like going into the voting booth. And I think you maybe just said it though, because those three things were really great. I know that summarizes the values of the system that you came from, but it seems like a really great system.
Yeah. I would say, when you're electing people for office, it's really important to look at their values. Are they going to fight for you? Yeah. And if they have historically shown they're not going to fight for you, maybe not elect them again. And so I just, as a nurse practitioner and a veteran, I'm here to fight for you. I'm going to fight every day. I'm going to fight for my kids. I'm going to fight for your kids. And I'm going to show up. And if it's going to be a hard day, it's going to be a hard day. If it's going to be no sleep, it's going to be no sleep. But I'm going to be there doing the work. And I think that's the leadership we need right now.
Absolutely. And speaking of the work, I did what you're doing now for almost 3 years. And, there were days that were tough, and it was just hard to get out there and say, okay, let's get on this phone and do call time. Let's go knock on all of these doors that I have to knock on. And having a family and having to, factor all of that in. Tell me, Kristina, what keeps you motivated on those toughest days of campaigning? What keeps you going? I know you just had a primary, so that's a little bit of you want it. You got a little boost, little wind in your sails, but what keeps you? There's going to be tough days ahead too. What keeps you motivated?
Oh yeah. I like to think of things as checkboxes. I'm a very organized checkbox person. So in order for me to win this election, I got to check the boxes. So if it's call time, I'm going to check the box because I don't get to make any change unless I get elected. So I really have to think about that. This is going to be a lot of things I don't like to do. I don't typically like talking in public. But you know what? I'm going to do it.
Nobody likes that.
Nobody likes that. Terrible.
But it's a part of this process. And as much as I don't like it, I can't change it until I'm elected. So I really just try to focus on really my patients and my family. And I want them to have a different world and a different system to live in. And the only way I can do that is by getting myself elected. So I'm going to check the boxes until I do that.
Love it.
Love it. So after you've checked all those boxes and election day is upon us, when voters head to the polls, what do you hope they remember about you and your campaign as they're going in there to check that box for you? What do you want them to be thinking about? What do you want them to remember about this campaign and about you specifically?
Mm-hmm. That's a great frame of trying to make sure people remember something that's important. And I will say, when you're in a place where you've had a leader that's had 30 years to serve you and change things, and they haven't changed anything, it's really an important time to say, this corrupt system and this status quo has got to go.
Mm-hmm.
And who's here hasn't done anything about it.
Right.
So we need someone fresh and energized and young and strong and bold that's actually going to stand up to the corruption instead of give in to the same old game and the same old status quo that's always been there. So yeah, I hope they just recognize the difference between one person and the other and really see that there's a great option, and it's not standing up for corruption or taking corporate PAC money. So I think that's the person that we should be choosing.
I love it. So as we wrap this up, Kristina, tell us where, or tell the audience where they can go find you and help you, because people, as we just covered, campaigns do cost money. Kristina is running against someone who's taking nothing but corporate PAC money. And I'm sure she's just like me. When I ran campaigns, I only took, money from people, small dollars, $1, $5, $10, $20. That was the majority of what we raise. I'm sure she's the same way. So Kristina, tell the people where they can go to help you and maybe even volunteer if they're in your area.
Yeah, and I will say there's ways to volunteer without being in the area. So you can find everything at KristinaKnickerbocker.com. You can sign up for campaign updates, where you can also sign up to volunteer. All of my social handles are also my first and last name, Kristina Knickerbocker. So please follow us on social. That is a great opportunity for you to, get involved and share things, like things, help us feed the algorithm so that we can get our message out. And then also, as Marcus said, we need somebody to donate. And you know what? With this being a grassroots campaign, $1 makes a difference. $10 makes a difference. And if you can afford doing $5 to $10 a month, do it, because I am here sacrificing a lot to make sure we win this election so I can fight for you. And if you can't fight and, run for Congress, I'm doing it for you. So if you can, $5 a month, $5 a week, whatever you can, it really, really does make a difference. So make sure to use your voice by using your dollar and funding Kristina Knickerbocker for Congress.
It truly does, guys. Those small dollars, it adds up, and it helps our candidates communicate, because that's the way to do it. You got to be able to communicate and reach voters where they are, and that's how people get elected.
Yeah.
If not, they're just going to check the box for an incumbent. But I think we've got to pick up here in Ohio 10. I honestly do.
I'm ready for it.
The year to do it. Kristina Knickerbocker, thank you so much
for joining us
today. I enjoyed this.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I would love to come to. Yeah, well, thank you. You guys are really easy to talk to, so we can do this again, or I'll come to Georgia and we can go out. So thank you again for having me. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Anytime you're in our area, let us know. And next time I'm up in the Kettering, Dayton area, I'll let you know.
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
God bless. Bye. Have a good one. Man.
So lovely.
Great candidate.
So lovely. So nice.
And I surely think we got to pick up there.
She reminds me of it reminds me of Maura. Was that her name, Maura?
Maura Keller, yeah.
Yes, Maura Keller, because they're both nurses who were like, this is bullshit, I think.
Call it what it is.
They're both veteran nurses who went, I think this is wrong, and I think I'm going to do something about it, and I'm not going to stop until it's done.
Yeah, and that's what we need.
Yeah.
That's what we need more of. I'm big on veterans.
Me too.
After service, running for Congress. I've been pushing that for a long time now. I think we need to see more for it, because, you know, as a veteran, you know, you came up through, you did active duty military time. You understand that service is not about you.
And you're
You
invested.
get it. And you're invested in, you know, what happens. So, you know,
Yeah.
There's some veterans who, you know, are on the other side and who are pretending to be very, very Trumpy. I don't necessarily like that, but hey, we could get beyond that if you know, just.
We're changing the energy slowly. It's happening. It's just
It's
slow.
happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. Speaking of Trumpy.
Gross.
Yeah, cultural topics, and I feel like that's how New Yorkers felt at the NBA Finals game the other day when they booed Trump, who I guess they were thinking it was pretty gross. Huh?
What did Keith call him? Sleepy Don?
Sleepy Don.
Sleepy Don?
Fell asleep at the game too.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that.
Stay home if you're gonna fall.
I mean, he's falling asleep at the Resolute desk. So I mean, if he's falling asleep there, he's gonna fall asleep anywhere. Grandpa. I mean, I don't care that he falls asleep, you know, but like, come on, man. Seriously, you know,
sundowning's a real thing.
It really is.
Yeah, so he's doing it.
So here's my theory.
Right in front of our eyes, you know.
My theory is that, you know how Peter Thiel just left the United States and now he's chilling in Argentina, and like JD Vance has been a little bit, you know, laying low.
Sorry. Did I say that out loud? I was thinking. I didn't mean to.
I didn't even hear you.
I said jerk, but just kind of slipped out.
No, absolutely. I think really what's happening is that we don't know how much longer the president's going to be around, let alone how much longer he'd be able to like get away with governing in front of our eyes. And so I think they're just laying low until JD Vance becomes the president. And I think that because he's not putting up much of a fight against Marco Rubio right now. And everybody's really pushing towards Marco. And I think the reason why is because they know that they're going to get their moment. Like he knows he's going to get his moment in the spotlight relatively soon, and that people will not want to switch. Like once if you've already had that level of instability where you have a president that dies in office and then somebody else comes in, it's already a level of instability that makes people feel uncomfortable regardless of what side it's on. Right. And so those people who are in the middle, I think, are going to be like, you know what, I don't want another change. Like don't do it again. We don't want Marco Rubio. Just keep it with JD Vance. You know, so that's my theory. But yeah.
I had a very similar conversation with a friend yesterday, and he was saying something similar to what you're saying. And I said, okay, well, that may be possible. But I said, there's also the other possibility. You know, a lot of times miserable old bastards live forever.
Oh my God, that's true.
You know, no matter how bad their health is.
They will not leave us alone.
They'll be like 100 before they finally decide to
right.
Day. So
miserable.
I hope that's not the case here, that we'll be dealing with Trump for the next 20 years. You know.
Oh my God, so true.
98 years old, still on his Truth Social, talking trash about, you know, a Democratic president.
When did that get acceptable? Like, I
hope that doesn't happen.
I can't even process it, honestly.
I wish death upon anybody. Let me be clear here. However, you know, the bruising and the sundowning, you know, the falling asleep everywhere. I mean, I know that part of that has to do with him being up all night on Truth Social or whatever, tweeting, you know, or truthing. I hate saying that, but
I will do it
all night long. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
Take the wheel, please. Yeah.
Yep.
So
that is, by the way, the second country music reference that you've had in this conversation.
Oh, yeah,
the first one.
Can you guys tell I listen to a lot of country music? So.
I do too. Yeah. I do too. And actually, my husband just bought us tickets last night to go to the Chris Stapleton concert. Because it's also going to be with Ashley McBryde.
I referenced Ashley McBryde earlier, so you called
when you just said an old screen door. I was like,
yeah, like an old screen door.
Okay, that song, Bible in a 44, is, I think it's the best written song like of our generation. Truly,
I mean, it reminds me of my old man who passed, you know, back in my first campaign. So, yeah,
I mean,
he was that guy, no BS whatsoever.
The lyrics,
Bible in a 44. He didn't carry a 44.
The lyrics, I love the one that's like, he'd be the last one off if the ship went down. I was like, oh, yeah. Like, So yeah, I'm a huge Ashley McBryde fan. You should get tickets. You should go. We should go.
I won't be here during that time, but
Oh,
I do love Ashley McBryde.
yes.
She's one of my favorite artists.
Me too.
Miranda Lambert, probably my number one favorite female artist.
I love her
She does,
too.
you know,
I love her too so much. I love the Bluebird song.
Bluebird it's what wakes me up. It's my first alarm in the morning.
Really? I love that. That makes me so happy.
See, great minds. Somebody
Yes,
said
totally.
Great minds thinking alike.
That's great. I bet we're the same Myers-Briggs too.
Yeah. I mean, I do kind of. Well, I'm not gonna. Let me stop.
Yeah, we'll move on. We'll move on.
We'll be here for another half an hour talking about country music, and I don't think that's what people.
It'll be easy.
Us to talk about. Let's get to these midterms.
Okay.
The midterms. Let's start with. Primary elections yesterday. We had Maine, we had South Carolina, we had Nevada, which I forget, and North Dakota. So,
well, y'all know how I feel about Graham Plattner.
Let's do the unpleasantness first, as far as my party's concerned.
Yeah,
Graham Plattner.
Yeah, he won, and we knew he was going to win, and we know that he's got a pretty good chance of winning against Susan Collins. Not a tremendous chance, but he's got some chance.
He's got a chance. I mean, Sarah Gideon should have won that.
That was my thing. That's my thing. It's like you have another option. You have another option that's not a bad option. What are you doing? Here's my thing, and I'll leave it at this because I know I posted my debate, and I really appreciate the people who.
I'll let the people know about it.
So I'm on News Nation on Leland Vitterd's show usually about once a week, and I was debating this one young lady, Caroline Sunshine. She was debating about Graham Plattner on Abby Phillips' show on CNN the next night. And it didn't, she said, I think there's a lot of reasons to not vote for Graham Plattner. She's a Republican, but none of these scandals are one of them. And I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense to me that you would say that, because it's supposed to be that you guys don't care about things like that. You guys are supposed to be the ones that are willing to overlook it. We're supposed to be the ones that
pedophilia, all kinds of criminality.
Right. And the thing that everybody kept saying in response was, I don't care. I want to win. I'm tired. I don't want to win, or I want to win. And so my response to that is, I want to win too, but not like this. And it's different that if he were running for president, that's different than him running for this seat where there was an alternate option and where Susan Collins has voted twice to impeach Trump, and she just voted against the slush fund. So it's like, to me, our biggest issue, like the reason why the Democrats, and I've said this so many times on the show, the reason why the Democrats lost the independent vote was because they don't trust us. And if we just stood up and said, you know what, we're going to be consistent and we're willing to take the hit, we'll take the hit. I can tell you that in the long run, as somebody who analyzes this day in and day out, I'm telling you that would have gone so much further than getting one Senate seat would have. You would have changed hundreds of thousands of votes by standing up and saying, we're going to at least be consistent and trustworthy. How do you win trust back? By doing shit like that, by saying, you know what, we're going to be consistent with what we believe in and not lowering the bar. I get wanting to win. It's just, I feel like you can't compromise the
moral high ground.
Right. And the movement that you're fighting for is supposed to stand for these things. And these are the things that you're going to sacrifice. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I mean, there's so many examples of where Democrats have done the right thing, kicked Democratic members out of the Senate, out of the House when they, were either convicted of things or, the scandal was so big, there was so much smoke, and then there was fire. I mean, we saw recently with Swalwell. I just think there's a lot of smoke here in this Graham story, whether it's, the tattoo, the Totenkopf, and not knowing what that is, the domestic violence stuff with girlfriends or whatever. It's there's a lot there, and I think it gets worse before it gets better. But the thing we talk about this in sports when we were a kid. There's winning, and there's winning the right way.
Yeah.
You can play dirty, and we teach our kids that. You don't want to win like that. In golf, if you touch the ball and nobody saw it, do you count that stroke?
Right.
You know, even if there was a movie where he touched the ball and he called the penalty on himself, and lost a stroke and lost the match.
Yeah.
Could have not done it and would have won. So do we want to win like that? No, we want to keep the moral high ground. So
I'm really grateful that I have a partner like you and the team that I have, because it just means a lot to me that you guys care about that. And, because if you are somebody who understands domestic violence and you see that people are just like, yeah, but we want to win. And you go, but I thought
that is a slippery slope.
I thought you guys cared though. I thought we weren't going to do this anymore. And you would have gained so much trust. The thing that I wish that Miss Fifield would do is explain why she still voted for Kavanaugh, because I think that's the one talking point that they have against her to try to prove this. And Kavanaugh literally split up my family. Like, my mom didn't talk to her sister for 3 years because she was in favor of Kavanaugh. My mom wasn't. Like, it really broke up families. And to me, I'm somebody who respects freedom of religion, even though I'm super pro-choice, right? That's why I am pro-choice, because I do respect freedom of religion. But I understand that if you're somebody who's pro-life, if you really do think that that's murder, right? If that's something that you really do think, then I get that you voted for Kavanaugh because of the pro-life thing, right? Because you view it like you're sacrificing yourself, right? Like this is like, I have to do it so that babies survive. If that's something that you believe, then like
I think the bigger issue there was people lying about it.
Yeah.
When they talk about things like stare decisis and just
right,
settled law,
right,
it was the lies from him and Coney Barrett.
So many lies.
So that's where I had an issue. You're pro-life. You're pro-life. I get it. I'm from the South.
Right. Like, we get it. It's
not,
just,
I hate the way it's framed, pro-life versus,
it's literally the one issue that I know,
right,
like, I get why you're upset. Like, I still don't think that they have a right to be, considering the fact that we have freedom of religion and that our culture defines life differently. Right. And like, we define life as society is not a religious definition, because we don't mix religion and politics. But I get the feeling, like, I respect the feeling. And so if she came out and said something like, that's why I voted for Kavanaugh, because people people forget that you can, like, both, for example, be racist against immigrants and be married to Melania Trump. Like, people are like, you can't do both of those things at once. Like, yes, you can actually.
People can reconcile anything in their heads. So they can, if it makes them feel better, people can reconcile whatever.
They really can. They really can.
At odds. Oh, yeah, I can reconcile this.
Like, for example, Nancy Mace, how she could reconcile loving Donald Trump and also wanting to expose the Epstein files, but she lost. So
there we go. Now we're in South Carolina, just like that. Hell of a transition. And yes,
welcome.
Nancy Mace is she's done. She did not advance in her race for the governor of South Carolina.
Yeah.
Where did she finish? Dead last?
I think it was dead last.
Fifth, dead last.
There's this one show, it's called This Fucking Guy, and it's on Crooked Media. It's a YouTube show, and they did one on Nancy Mace. They did one on Ken Paxton too, but they did one on Nancy Mace where it just like goes into her whole profile and you get to understand where she came from and like her mindset and stuff, and it's fantastic. It's so funny.
There was a time where, and it was like in the beginning of her congressional career, where I was like, she makes a lot of sense. She seems like she's a common sense type person. And then it all changed all of a sudden.
Yes. And it explains that.
So, goodbye, Nancy Grace.
Yeah.
I mean, Nancy Mace.
I thought you were just calling her a little nickname there.
Nancy Grace is from some show that I've watched before. But anyway, also in South Carolina, Lindsey Graham made it through.
Yeah. Why was he at Disney World, by the way, with a bobble wand?
I do not know. What has Lady G got going on? He beat a bunch of challengers though. So
yep. Lady G.
Mm,
I
Lady G.
love so much that everybody keeps calling Donald Trump a messy queen right now. I love it because
He
he
is
is.
quite messy, quite messy.
He's a messy queen.
What else we got? So I think that covers South Carolina. What else we got? We got in Nevada, David Flippo, a retired Air Force lieutenant colonel who was endorsed by Trump, won the GOP primary there to replace retiring Rep. Mark Amoti. Okay.
Mhm.
What else do we got? Trump. What is this thing with California? Weighing in on the LA mayor's race, and it's rigged. What's going on there? This guy.
Stupid.
How can you say?
Because they don't. So the way that they can, like, I don't know how many times Trump needs to be told that that's the way that they count the votes. I don't know how many times. Like, it takes a week because they let you drop your ballot off for a
Exactly.
week. Like, I don't know why nobody like just tells him that to his face on camera to where he can't deny that he knows that anymore.
I think he knows at this point, but he just wants to keep. I think they're just pounding that thing home so that they are. I think he's just teeing it up for the next cycle. So he can say, "Look, it's all rigged. It's all rigged." See,
Right.
But he did that. He did that to a certain degree when he was running against Hillary in 2015.
Mm-hmm. He definitely did.
If I don't win, it's rigged. If I don't win, it's rigged. So he kept
Right.
teeing that up. So,
but if I win, it's fair.
I win, it's fair. If our guys win, it's fair. Well, I hope Karen Bass runs away with this thing. So,
no, that's a freaking nightmare.
Of course, they're going to send their DOJ guys out to try and charge people over it. I mean, they're silly. I mean, it's really silly at this point.
So, Van Jones
weaponizing government.
Yes, Van Jones did my favorite explanation, and I love him. He's one of my heroes. But my favorite explanation of the wildfires in California. So everybody's got like certain things that really bother them, right? So in Trump's presidency, don't ask me why, but like the thing that has bothered me the most was blaming that plane crash that happened like a few weeks in on DEI. Like that was, for me, I was like pacing my kitchen, fuming, angry like that. And so they blamed the wildfires too on DEI. And Van Jones said, it doesn't matter if you had 50 people running that city who all looked like Clark Kent. The issue was that there was, in order to get the water over the fire that you needed, you had to use an air tanker. And the air tanker picks up like 300 bazillion gallons of water and dumps it on the fire. It didn't matter how much water they had in reserves. They pick it up from the ocean. Right. It wouldn't have come from the reserves anyways. And they couldn't use the air tanker because there was a dry hurricane and they couldn't get the tanker over the area where it needed to go. So it had nothing to do with Karen Bass being there, not being there. It didn't have to do with DEI, not DEI. It was scientists for 6 years prior had been saying, I really hope that we don't get a fire that gets started because we will have a dry hurricane and it's going to destroy the city and we don't have any way to fix it. And the problem was global warming. But yeah, so I get really worked up about it, but I think like Van Jones gave me the perfect talking point on that.
Yeah, I mean, well, global warming, something that Republicans ignored or said was a hoax and didn't exist for 30 years until now it's upon us, and we're in a fight for our lives, for the planet's life. So
what's crazy is like they because they're our chief capitalists, they're the ones that are like, oh yeah, you should monetize everything. Why are you mad at me for making $1? And then Democrats started saying, you know what, we're going to start building businesses off of green energy. We'll do well by doing good. And then now they're saying, oh, the only reason why you guys care or think that global warming is real is because you want to make money off of it. And I'm like, how did this argument get so twisted? Like, that's what they did. They twisted the argument that way. And
they're good at breaking the frame, even if it's a good frame, and turning it into something stupid.
I was like, how? Yeah. I get really.
It'll break your brain.
Yep, it'll break your brain. That's for sure.
So, Iran war. Let's cover that quickly before we close up.
Yes.
Hostilities are back on in Iran. Did they ever really stop? So
I don't.
we had a helicopter shot down over the weekend.
Yeah.
And that prompted retaliatory strikes. We struck first in the last time, but I guess Trump's still insisting that they're still close to a deal. I feel like Iran said several times already in no uncertain terms that they're going to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. And that they're just willing to face the consequences. And really all they're doing is painting the narrative.
We're facing the consequences of
right.
Trump's actions.
Right.
Getting us into this in the first place.
That's exactly right.
So it's us. Gas prices, the global economy is going to shit right now. There's recession talk and all of that. It's all because of this. So, and you never want an administration to fail. So nobody's wishing that Trump's going to fail or our State Department's going to fail here, but they're doing a pretty piss poor job of something that was completely avoidable. Talk about unforced errors here.
Right.
So this is what we got, guys.
It's hard to know how much of this is planned and how much of it isn't, because I think that they're extremely aware of the narrative. And they in some ways play into it and in some ways don't. They play into different, because before I would go on debates, I'll check the newspaper in other countries to see what they're saying in other countries. And I have to be careful, because sometimes it's state news and sometimes it's, just what they want people to know. But either way, I get to see what the narrative is.
Right.
Either way, I get to see the thing that they want people to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta kind of do the double think thing. Like, have you ever seen The Princess Bride? That movie?
Yes.
So when he does the cups where the two cups are there and he's trying to figure out which one's poison. And you have to be like, well, you think that I think that you think, yes. So that's how I figure out what's going on between different countries. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of just, that.
What do you want me to think so that I'll drink?
Exactly. So they're controlling the narrative. And so it's hard to know, because we don't know what's going on unless someone tells us. We don't know what's going on unless we see it on camera. And I think that they're taking advantage of that tremendously.
Well, you don't have true transparency on either side of this issue, whether it's coming from their side or coming from our side right now, because, this administration that talked about transparency and this, that, and the other, they're not very transparent, because they know they've lost the narrative here. They've lost it. It's once again, who's really pulling the strings behind Trump? We know he's sundowning, so he's not really pulling strings. It's probably Peter Thiel, but even closer, the Stephen Miller guy, who's right there inside the house.
Yep.
What are they telling this guy? Does he really believe all of this stuff? We're still close on a deal with Tehran. I think he probably does.
I mean,
they're just lying to him, telling him what he wants to hear. I guess that's what happens when you have a bunch of sycophants and someone truly evil as your chief of staff.
Truly evil. Truly. Wait, who's the chief of? Is Stephen Miller his chief of staff right now?
Yeah, he's chief of staff, right?
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Let me make sure I'm right here.
I mean, he's deputy chief of staff. He's deputy chief of staff.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
deputy chief of staff. Yeah.
I've seen West Wing. They're all in there.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Terrible. Oh my God. And he didn't start out that way. I thought he was just the immigration dude.
He looks like Dracula. He's probably acting like Dracula in there too.
He looks like Dracula.
It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
This is what we got. Is there any good news to be had this week? I guess the House voted last week to approve a bill to put an end to the war.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to listen, though? I mean, or is this administration just going to keep doing what they want to do?
Yeah, I was just having that conversation actually, because I was so happy when I got the notification on my phone. I was like, oh yes, finally. But here's the thing. So from a legal standpoint, I'm excited because now we've got a really good balance of power argument that can be framed in a certain way, where you can say, like, with certainty that you are not doing what Congress wants, that you are going against Congress's wishes.
You can box them in a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
the way it's supposed to be. However, we know
yeah.
it doesn't always work.
Nevertheless, yeah.
And the same Congress also passed a bill last week approving more than $1 billion and $8 billion in defense loans for Ukraine. In addition to a slew of Russian goods, sanctions on Russian goods to help fund its military. But they also approved funding her ICE. So the fight that lasted 115 days is now over, people. ICE is getting funded.
I mean,
I guess, well, I don't guess they really needed any Democrats to vote on that to
yeah.
get it passed, but
But I mean, we put up a fight though, and yeah. I do appreciate that. Like, we really did that, and people all got on the same page. Like, the talking heads got on the same page and like decided to have a consistent message that really like brought some shit home. And we even got Mark Wayne Mullen to admit some shit, where he was like, well, if that's what they're doing, then they shouldn't be doing that. Like, well, that's in the congressional record now. So, because my brain's always trying to trap them in, trying to get that, because that's just, you're building the argument.
Well, I mean, so when things go to court, it'll really look bad when the Supreme Court goes the opposite direction. Not that we don't already know that this is a very, very partisan Supreme Court.
Do you ever think about like what it's going to look like in the history books when people read about this in the future?
It's going to look the same way that Plessy did. Look back and be like, that was obviously wrong. Okay.
Right.
What were you assholes thinking? I mean, that was obviously, separate but equal. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's what it's going to look like in history. But we're gotta have a candidate who steps up and says, and then I'm talking for president now.
Yeah.
That steps up and says, we need reform on the court. You gotta have somebody that's willing to say that. We gotta have someone that's willing to follow through on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish Mom Donnie could run. I love Mom Donnie. I love him like a lot.
He seems to be doing a good job. Other people are turning around too. Everybody's going to have haters, but
he's out here living his best life all the time, fixing shit, solving problems, making a video about it, telling people where they can call to try to get, stuff actually fixed.
And guess what? The billionaires and millionaires aren't leaving New York.
Who'd have thunk it? And that tax, it's only, okay, the pied-à-terre tax, the tax is only on people's second homes that are worth over like $5 million. I was like, right, and they can't even live there full time. If they live there full time, he's not taxing it. I was like, these are some really rich fucking people that he's taxing. That obviously all the people who employ his business, right, like live there. So I love me some Mamdani. Woo, I'm so happy about him. He is a bright shining sun in the darkness that is Trump's administration.
I think, he's got a future in this, in politics, I think. So
I would go for him for president. I know he wasn't born here, but it makes me sad.
We'll see what he does next.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a little bit too early during this presidential cycle, which is probably going to get started in like December.
Mm-hmm.
Right after the midterms. But
I'm sure you're right.
Let's focus on winning these midterms. Democrats, we still have a chance.
Yep, we're doing
there is still, even with the Graham news, I think there's still, and I had a conversation about this with someone yesterday, but I still think there's a chance that Democrats could get the Senate.
I do too.
A bit tighter. It could be 51-49, as long as it's not 50-50 and JD Vance gets the, deciding vote. But I still think we got a chance there.
So I truly believe that the reason why all of these MAGA candidates, right? Like as soon as Trump endorses somebody, they switch to vote for that person. It's because the only people who are voting in these primaries that are pulling Republican ballots are people who are excited about Trump.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole other section of people who are defectors who aren't going to vote, or they're going to be so pissed that they're going to vote on the other side. So we actually have no way to monitor how well the Republicans are doing. And the only monitoring that we really even have are the polls that show that there's been like a 30-point swing in the other direction for Trump. So it doesn't matter. Like, of course, people who are still identifying as MAGA love Trump, but that amount has dwindled so much. And when you call and get polling from somebody and say, hey, are you a Republican? There are a lot of people who were saying that they were Republicans a year and a half ago who are saying, I'm not anymore. So it's a different category and we're not measuring it.
I still think you have that hard 30% that are going to stay with them no matter what.
Yes, I agree.
They're not going anywhere. They haven't gone anywhere yet, and they're not going anywhere ever.
That I agree with for sure. Yes.
But I think of the rest of the Republicans, some of them are still going to vote Republican, but we don't need that many of them.
No, we don't.
We're talking 2-3% of that. The rest of that number, that moves things across the country.
Yeah.
You know, even in deep South here in Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
I think it gets Ossoff reelected. You know, hopefully, you know, it's enough to get Keisha Lance Bottoms across the finish line here in Georgia for this government.
I mean, does she have a chance?
It'd be tough, depending on who comes out of that that runoff with Bert and Rick.
I mean, I can't stand those guys. Like, they're horrible human beings.
They're both bad, equally bad. Don't get me wrong.
They're both terrible people.
But if we can get some people to stay home and say, you know, and if we can get more people fired up, if Ossoff can get a lot of people fired up to keep that Senate seat, I think that translates into more votes for Keisha.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
I sincerely hope so.
I mean, we've been trying it here in Georgia for a while to make this place truly, well, it'll be truly purple if we get the governorship.
Yeah.
I don't think we get the Georgia State House or the Senate this time around, but
yeah, we might get the lieutenant governor, but I don't know.
Possibly as well.
You guys who are running for lieutenant governor are the worst.
Yes.
Like, okay, so like I know we have to go, but like real quick. So when I was a speechwriter in the state legislature, they wouldn't give us the stuff that we had to do for the next day because we were the Democrats and the Republicans were in control until 4 p.m. every day. But I got there at like 9 or 10. And so we would sit there all day waiting for whatever the next thing was going to be. And so we made up mean nicknames for all the state senators that were like the horrible ones. They were bad. I still have them on a sticky note. Like, and one time, what's his name? The governor's brother-in-law. What's his name?
What is his name? I can't remember.
He's running for AG.
Not Dooley.
I can't remember. He took a call in my office. Like he walked in my office because he was like, is there anybody in here? I just need to take a call in here. And I had all the mean nicknames up on the wall. I mean, he wouldn't know what they were referring to, but it was embarrassing. I'm glad it happened though. Oh, Marcus, are you frozen? There we go.
Am I back now?
You're back now. You're back now.
Okay.
And
I think we're experiencing a little weather here. Let me see.
That's okay. I think it's time to go anyways.
It's probably my internet resetting.
It's okay.
Are you still with me?
Yes, I'm here. We're here.
Yeah, it does it at the most random times.
Yeah.
So,
but I think we had a great show. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for letting me talk. Thank you for listening to Miss Knickerbocker. She's obviously kicking ass.
Big thanks to Kristina.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us. And thank you for all of you who are sticking with us, and we love you. We appreciate you. All of our subscribers, keep coming back. We'll keep talking the news. A little bit of housekeeping. We're going to be gone for the next 3 weeks until after the 4th of July. So this was our last show for a few weeks.
There'll be another article comes out tomorrow, though. I'll still send out articles on Thursdays.
We'll still be dropping our newsletters and manually putting things out as well. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. And as always, people, thanks for listening. And of course, with all due respect,
Thanks,
Godspeed, everybody.